One of the detectives working on this case said it was the most baffling case he has ever seen. Hello, true crimeers. This is another true crime in a short amount of time, and it is the case of Jason Jolkowski. Viewer discretion is advised. Real quick before we get started, please make sure you subscribe if you are into true crime and this is your first foray into my channel. Give the video a like and all that stuff and blah, 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 all the things that we're supposed to say. But let's just get into the case. Jason Jolkowski was born on June 24th, 1981, and he grew up in the Omaha, Nebraska area. But by 2001, he is a 19-year-old college student, and he is attending Iowa West Community College. So he moved a little bit, out of state for school. But in June of 2001, it was summer vacation. So Jason went back to his parents' house in Omaha to spend the summer there, and he also got a little part-time job. He would be working at the restaurant Fazoli's, which I think still exists. Yeah, I haven't seen one in a long time. Jason was described as being incredibly intelligent, but also super shy. He was very a reserved person, wasn't the most outspoken individual. But most importantly, he was described as the kindest person you'll ever meet. He always had a smile on his face, and he was always there just to listen, and whatever you needed, he would do his best to provide. So it's June 13th, 2001. The 19-year-old college student is back at home, and he gets a phone call from his employer, Fazoli's, and they ask him if he can come in a little bit early that day. So he agrees, but at the time, his vehicle is being repaired, so he has to find a ride to work. Which he actually was able to get pretty quickly. He called a coworker who was also working that day, and she agreed to pick him up. Now, the plan was for Jason to walk to the nearby high school, which was Benson High School, and this was 7-8 blocks away from where his parents' house was. And so he would walk there for the coworker to pick him up, and then they would go to work. I'm not sure why they didn't just have her pick him up directly from the house. I don't know why. It was about 10:45 in the morning, and a neighbor observed Jason walking out of his parents' house, and he did have a little brother, Jason did, and his little brother was bringing in the trash, the big cans, and the neighbor spotted Jason helping his little brother bring the cans back up the driveway. And then Jason was observed beginning to walk down the road on his way to the high school. But after that, nobody would see Jason again. The coworker was waiting in the high school parking lot for a little bit of time. When Jason didn't show up, she actually would end up calling Jason's house at about 11:15 in the morning. And they said that Jason wasn't there. He had already left to go see you to get picked up. But he wasn't there. The neighborhood that would lead him from his parents' house to the school was in a really good neighborhood. It never had any issues with police being called. There were never any problematic people that lived in the area. It was a very upscale, very nice, peaceful, quiet, tranquil community. And so the fact that Jason was walking down this neighborhood to the school should have been just fine. But it wasn't, apparently, because he never made it to the school. They would actually, when the parents began to realize, well, Jason's missing, they would contact police, but at first police were like, he's 19 years old, he just likely ran away. Which didn't make any sense because, he was visiting there, first of all. This wasn't even where he lived. He only had about $60 in his pockets, and he didn't have his car. So where would he have run away to and why? He was in really good spirits. People said that he seemed very positive around this time, and he loved being back at home. He loved going to school. He loved it all. There's no reason why he would just pick up and abandon everything. So eventually the police would get more involved, and then they would check, I guess, the CCTV cameras at Benson High School. They see the friend, parking in the parking lot, but they never see Jason walking into the parking lot. They checked all the cameras the school had, and they never had any images of Jason even being near the school. So something happened in that 8-block walk from his house to that school. But what happened to him to this day is still unknown. And again, the theories of him just sort of going away on his own, it just wasn't holding any weight. So he had to have met with foul play in some way, shape, or form. But in this neighborhood, it would be very unusual for that. He did have a cell phone, a 2001 cell phone. And when police eventually would look into it, he never made any texts or phone calls after his initial contact with the friend. That phone was never used again. He had a bank account. From that day moving forward, that bank account was never touched, never accessed. No one ever tried to take any money out. Nothing. Police interviewed everyone in his life. They even interviewed people, at his school in Iowa. But they all said, Jason was the super polite guy. He didn't have an enemy in the world. No one disliked him. He didn't get into any arguments or fights with anyone. He wasn't seeing anyone that anyone knew about. So there wasn't any kind of crazy affairs happening. There was literally nothing going on in his life that would indicate anything bad would have happened to him. Nothing at all. He was not a partier. He did not do drugs. He didn't drink alcohol. He didn't smoke. He didn't do anything. He was just this good, sort of that picture perfect all-American boy. He just did everything right. And he just never got into trouble. So this was just completely bizarre. The detectives who worked on this, after interviewing just tons of people, after scouring through cell phone data, bank records, after looking through everything and anything to do with his life, looking through school records, looking through any CCTV cameras they can find along the path, which in 2001 there wasn't a ton, especially in residential areas. They just said this is the most baffling thing we have ever heard of, because this man, this 19-year-old guy who had everything going for him, who's in really good spirits, just gone, just vanished for no reason. There are no suspects. The belief is that the only thing reasonable to think is that someone stopped him on this walk and somehow got him in their car, and did God knows what. Who knows? There's been no trace of him ever found. No clothing. His cell phone's never been found. His wallet's never been found. Nothing has been found. They have an age progression photo of him, and I'm showing it now, I'm sure, and this is what he would look like around this time now. So with them finding nothing and no suspects, there is that little glimmer of hope that maybe he is out there somewhere. But you just have to kind of look at this and go, it just doesn't make sense for him to have gone on his own and just left. That's where they're at. They've got nothing. Jason's parents, Jim and Kelly are their names. They, of course, are holding out hope because, they're his parents, of course. But they started an organization called Project Jason, which was an organization that's meant to help other families who have missing persons in their lives. They also helped with creating Jason's Law, which was actually passed in Nebraska in 2005. And what it was basically creating a statewide database for missing people. None of this is necessarily going to help bring Jason home, but it will help other families. It's been nearly 22 years since Jason Jolkowski walked out of his house, walked down the quiet, peaceful neighborhood, and disappeared into thin air. I say it all the time, a lot of us true crime people say it all the time, that it's not possible for someone to disappear into thin air. But sometimes you just have to wonder, because this just does not make any sense. It doesn't make any sense at all. And it was broad daylight, which makes it even more insane that if someone did take him, they did so with just no care in the world. It was just, you know, maybe he knew them. Who knows? I mean, that's maybe why he went quietly. I don't know. It's just all speculation. But if you have any information about the strange disappearance of Jason Jolkowski, please contact the Omaha, Nebraska Police Department, and you can do so anonymously at 402-444-5818. I'm not sure if they're still handling his case, but you can contact 1-800-THE-LOST, which is part of the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, since he was a teenager when he disappeared. Perhaps if you have any information, the family would certainly appreciate anything at all. This is a family who didn't get a proper goodbye to their son, and just, they deserve that. And perhaps someone could help bring Jason home in some way, shape, or form. But that is it for this case. I hope you found it interesting. Like I said earlier, please give me a subscribe if you are into true crime. I have a whole lot more content on here for you to binge through. I also sell merch. We have it in the link tree in the description below. We sell t-shirts and hoodies and all that stuff. We do ship internationally. I have a Discord server if you want to join it. It's also linked below in the link tree. Please be over the age of 18 if you want to join. Otherwise, you will be kicked out. It's a very quiet and chill place, though. But that is it for today's video. And I will be back tomorrow for another short true crime video. And until that comes... I don't know how to end the video. Why am I...